Hey, what's up, everyone? Dreagen here, and today this is going to be kind of the first in a series of tutorial videos I'm going to be doing to kind of explain to you a little bit the writing process that I use when I, tell my stories, when I do my work. And it's something I've kind of honed over a period of time from, reading the work and watching the work of other talented people because I would never presume to have you just take my word for it. But yeah, and it's one of those things I've been reading and really studying film since I was really, really little. And like I said, it doesn't make me an expert, but I like to think that I picked up a few things along the way, things that I've used that have helped me when I do my work. So I kind of figured, okay, maybe I can kind of pass some of this along and maybe help you guys out along the way with whatever it is you're doing, whether you're working on screenplays, books, comics. It really doesn't matter. Just anything that's kind of creative and something that really involves the creative process. And I was trying to figure out like where I wanted to kind of start, what would be the best place to start, and then I kind of figured, well, I should really start where it always does, an idea. Where do you get an idea? Where does the inspiration for an idea come from? And the fact of the matter is, anywhere. I know that may not be a satisfactory answer, but it's kind of the truth. I myself have been inspired from everything from people, music, things I've watched, things I've heard, things I've read. And usually when I do that, I kind of think to myself, okay, if I was telling this story, uh, how would I do it? Well, what would I keep the same, but what would I do differently? How would I write these characters? Would I keep these characters the same? Would I change them completely? Would I adjust them or tweak them? One of the ways to always do that is to pull from your own life, pull from your own experiences. I think it's not a mystery that most people, when they write stories, they tend to pull from their own lives, even if it's dealing with characters who are different from themselves or encountering situations that they have never done themselves. You still put a little bit of yourself into it. It's kind of unavoidable, and it's something you should actually, consciously be aware of, because that'll help you kind of make your characters feel real, because you yourself are a real person, and these characters are entirely made up. So if you can put something of yourself in them, you're kind of breathing life into them. Um, in terms of originality, that's something you're going to probably find yourself struggling with. I say that because I've talked to a lot of people who are, trying to make it in the industry, and one of their biggest holdups is always, is my idea original? Is it unique? And the reality is, probably not. But that's not something to be ashamed of or worried about, because the fact of the matter is, if you have an idea that you think is really, really good, statistically, someone else has probably already had it or some kind of variation of it. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do with the idea. One of the examples I always use for this, and it's funny because this was a big criticism for this film when it came out. James Cameron's Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time, despite doing very well, a lot of people were complaining, saying that it was very derivative, that it was either Pocahontas or Dance with Wolves in Space. And I was always kind of laughing because I always thought to myself, well, the man, smart as he is, probably was well aware of that, but he probably wanted to tell his own version of that story. It's always kind of the story of star-crossed lovers, and I always just kind of figured he probably said, well, let's just take that concept and make it literal and make it a science fiction film. And lo and behold, the movie made all the money in the world. So don't worry about being original. I mean, if you have something that's, a little different, don't shy away from that either. But if you have an idea that you're very passionate about, that really, really speaks to you, don't worry about if it's like this or like that. What matters is what you do with it. The audience is not going to care so long as they're entertained. If they walk away from reading it or watching it or listening to it and had a good time with it, they're not going to care if it's like this or like that, or it's clearly inspired by this or clearly derived from that. Everyone has influences. Everyone is inspired by something else. That's fine. What matters is what you do with it. So don't be afraid of doing something if it seems a little bit like something else. Just tell your story. That's what matters. In terms of ideas, sometimes when you get them, it's like a domino effect or a snowball effect, right? It's all there. All the pieces come into place. Other times, not so much. Sometimes you'll get kind of a vague, general outline, and you need to work to flesh it out. Again, that's not a big deal. Take your time with it. What matters is that the story you tell is good, it's compelling, it's interesting, and most importantly, it's something that you're proud of. Because even if you tell a story, or you write a piece of music, or whatever, you draw something or you paint something and people respond well to it and they like it. If you yourself don't really feel it accurately reflects what you were trying to convey, it's not going to really matter to you. You want something of yourself. You want people to respond to something that speaks to you first and foremost. So don't worry about this or that. What matters first and foremost is that the idea, your concept, is something that you want to tell. Um, Beyond that, really, I mean, it's one of those I can go on and on really about like, okay, plot development, story intricacies, and that stuff I definitely want to talk about in later videos. But the reality is, if you have an idea that you're excited about, a lot of these things that can seem very daunting um, will kind of come into place because you're going to go and kind of seek them out. You know, a story kind of tells itself. I always figured the story kind of comes to you, and your job as the storyteller is to kind of channel it through you. You're kind of retelling a story that you feel was told to you. Um, Again, one of the good ways to do that, if you're trying to figure something out, look at what it's like. Look if it's like a movie that you've seen, if it's like a book that you read, take from it what is similar, and then ask yourself again, how would I have done it differently? What would I do with the material? Put pieces of yourself into it. Take components of your life and throw it in there. When I wrote my book, shameless plug coming along, Born of Fire, The Dawn of Legend, essentially I just kind of took every basic element of pop culture that I loved from my childhood, kind of basically the foundation of what made me a kid, and basically slammed it all together. And then from there, kind of went on the task of making it make sense. Okay, if I'm mixing this with that, how can these two work together? And that became kind of the process of making it all fit in a way that feels like it was always one cohesive thing. And sure enough, you can pick it apart very easily and probably just as easily find what influenced this, where this came from that. And again, that's okay. You take the great work of anybody and you can see what influenced that work, what influenced them. What matters is, does it have your voice? Does it have your signature over it? That's what counts. As long as it does that, people aren't going to care. They're not going to say you ripped it off. People only say you rip something off if they don't like it. If they like it, suddenly you're inspired by or you're paying homage to. So don't worry about it and don't get bogged down with things like that, because the idea phase is honestly the most exciting part, because it's when all these ideas and concepts come alive for you. And as a creative person, that's kind of what we live and breathe for. That's kind of what we feed on, or at least I do. You know, whenever I'm developing a new project, the idea stage is always my favorite, because it's where I really get to think of all these amazing, wonderful things. And then directly after comes the worst part about it, because then I have to figure a way to, boil it all down to something that makes sense. So enjoy this part and don't worry about anything else, because as long as you're having fun, the creativity will come and people will see that. People will see if you really, really enjoyed what you're doing, and that'll become infectious. So that's pretty much it. Take an idea, take something you like, think of anything that you enjoy. If it's something you really want to get into, whether again you're writing a book, you're making a comic, you're writing music, you're making a movie, just start with, okay, take those things, those movies, those books, those comics and music, the ones you like. Ask yourself what it is about them you would like. Ask what about them you would want to carry over into your work, and then find out what it is you'd want to do different. What other elements from other things would you want to bring into it to kind of switch it up a bit and kind of make it more you. And as you do that, you'll find that your art, your piece of creativity, will start to kind of take on a life of its own, and you'll feel that it's kind of telling you what needs to happen. It's dictating to you what it is. And I know that might sound a little artsy fartsy, but trust me, that's kind of how it goes. And when that happens, it's like lightning in a bottle. You'll see that you won't be daunted by the task of trying to put this all together. You'll be excited about it. You'll want to work on it. You'll think about it all the time, and that's good. Like I said, capture that lightning in a bottle. Don't squander that time, because that is the best time in a creative person's life, when you first get that initial spark. So with that said, that's pretty much how ideas work. That's kind of how they come, or that's how you kind of find them. You just see what speaks to you, and then you just ask yourself, what would you want to do with it? What would you like to see? What would you like to read? What would you like to hear? It may sound a little oversimplified, but quite frankly, that's really all there is to it. There's not as much mystique around it, I think, as some people make it out to be. And the creative process and how you get ideas may differ from for you than it would be somebody else. There's no right or wrong way. What matters is the finished result. As long as it leads to something, as long as it ends up being what you wanted, it really doesn't matter how you got there. I know the popular expression is it's not about the destination, it's about the journey or something like that. I always kind of disagree. I think it's all about the destination, and the journey is just, you know what? You take the high road, you take the low road, you zigzag, it really doesn't matter. What matters is you get there, and whatever process you take is whatever process you take. What matters is you're happy with the end result, and most importantly, you had fun with it. So with that said, that's going to end this video. We're going to be talking about more about storytelling and kind of being able to formulate ideas. I'm going to be digging deeper into, various other aspects. But like I said, I figured for this first video, starting with the idea was probably the best way to go, because like I said, every great story starts with an idea, no matter how big or small they are. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave some comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what some of your ideas are. And if you've got any questions for me, I'm always happy to indulge and answer. That's what I'm here for. And who knows, maybe I can help tease out the next great book or whatever. The next thing I'm reading could be your work. So, and I would hope that would be the case, and I would hope that you would maybe not feel daunted in pursuing what it is you want to pursue. So thanks for watching, guys, and like I said, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace!